So hi, this is my presentation for the vocab track vocabulary application for teachers and students for different languages for use in the classroom, and for two audiences, both to use. Teachers will use it to track and record the progress of their students, and students will use it for vocabulary language learning. So on to my persona. This is Amy. She is actually a real person named Amy, a real teacher, and she has some challenges where with the app she's currently using is that she really can't track individual students' progress, and also she can't really tailor the learning experience to different ways that some of the students learn. Some learn visually and some learn by actually doing and writing. So she'd like to be able to customize that experience. So moving on here. So here's kind of more of the problem of what she's talking about. She wants to track the progress of her classes and also the students. And also some students come at different skill levels, so she wants to be able to have a student set the lesson to the skill levels that would be most appropriate with the age, and to increase their learning intention, retention and knowledge. And also she would like a dashboard and some functionality to be able to track her students with the app, either view it in the app or get a quick emailed report. Okay, moving to the next one. So here's kind of some of the challenges she has. She's sometimes with different students that have different learning capabilities, she has a hard time keeping them engaged in the learning process, especially now with kids using phones and games. Flashcards apps just aren't gonna cut it. Just basically kind of too boring, and they lose interest too soon. And so she'd like to have a little bit of zing to the lessons, and also kind of tailor it and keep it where kids can learn visually, or also by writing their own definitions or sentences in the app, some kind of a physical part to take with the app to kind of reinforce that. And so yeah, she thinks the flashcard apps are basically kind of lame and kind of boring. She wants them to physically work with these words. Okay, let's move on to the next one. So beginning with my design and wireframing and prototype, I realized that there was basically two user audiences for this. So I had divided my tasks into a main task and a secondary task. The main task, which both audiences would use, would be to go into the dashboard, log in, put in their use personal information, picture, and all. Then also they could test. They could go in, pick their language and skill level and age, and they can start at an appropriate level for them. And so the secondary class would be kind of for the teacher of a teacher dashboard. Both users have a dashboard, a student and a teacher dashboard. So the secondary task I decided to use was the teacher dashboard, where the teacher can go in and pick a class and view a list of students in that class, or pick the whole class, and then they can generate a report or see a report on just basically where these kids are and what they've checked for review and how far they've made it, what percentage. So she's done that with one app called Quizlet, but she said it was kind of a daunting experience. There's too many different things to worry about. It wasn't as straightforward as she'd like it to be. So that's the reason we did this. I made the secondary tasks kind of more straight ahead. Okay, so going on to the user testing, I decided to test 4 areas with this app. And so the first one would be obviously create a new profile. And basically, since this app has 2 user bases, students and teachers, and different ages and learning types, really important to get all of this information into the app at the beginning so the users can tailor the experience that best suits them. Likewise, it's a language app, so they're going to be able to pick a language and a skill level to start with. So the skill level will also, I intend to put some more age appropriate stuff in there as well, but with the skill level and age, hopefully the app could serve up the lessons in a way that's age and skill appropriate to keep people's interest. And if it's younger kids, more cartoons, and then older kids, it could be more of a interactive experience where they write things in and listen and see users interacting. And definitely one thing that the teacher requested was for the students to be able to select items for review inside the lesson. So as they go through the lesson and they have items that they want to look back at or had trouble with, they can pick those and they can view those later in another page. Also, again, requested was an upload vocabulary page, since a lot of students do like the physical part of learning, where they actually get involved and they're actually writing with these words. They can actually interact with the app and write words and sentences, kind of using some of the new stuff they've learned. Okay, moving on to the next one. So I made some early prototypes here. Users didn't have too much problems overall going through them, but there was some confusion with a couple of the features. First of all, some of the confusion was the add for review feature. I don't think it was called out enough, or the functionality wasn't explained enough, and I think it's also too small and maybe too hard to read. And so sometimes they tended to skip that and go right to the review homepage, where the review homepage is where everything would be compiled once they're done with the lesson. So every time they add for review, those would be added in the list that would be viewable on the review homepage. But they kind of a couple of them tended to skip that area. Also, with the upload section, I did not have unified way of calling that feature. Sometimes I said add vocabulary, and sometimes I said upload vocabulary, and it wasn't called out very well in the navigation, not as visible, so people had a hard time. One user had a hard time finding that. So got to get rid of some of those inconsistencies and make it more visible to the users. So in some of the improvements, I tried to call out the add for review function, maybe click to add for review, made it larger, maybe put some color in it. And then I also renamed the review homepage lesson review, so you could show that it's like it encompasses review for the whole lesson. And also made the upload vocabulary button bigger, and also used more unified words to talk about that. Okay, so moving on, next step. So overall, I got pretty good features with it, but the next steps I'm going to try to continue building out this prototype and fleshing out some of the functionality within the app, just to, because right now it's fairly basic starter page, to actually go there, have students go through the lessons and do the functions and save for review and see if they like how that's done and how they would interact with the app. So that's continuing, basically doing user research basically at each step of creation. So every time we come back with more detail and functionality in the app, have users go through it so we can verify that we're on the right track. So what I learned with this, I learned quite a few things. So the pros, one good thing was, like, the users did like the app. They liked the idea of the app and what it would promise to give them, the teachers with the tracking and the students with different levels and functionalities where they can interact with the app. So they like that, and they also seem to get through the navigation without too much problems. They like the back and forward buttons, so the navigation was fairly simple. They didn't have to think about that too much. And the teachers did like the teacher-specific dashboard where they can generate reports. they also, like I said, they expressed satisfaction with the features and kind of the layout of where things were and the navigation, with the exception of the issues that we ran into earlier. So yeah, some of the cons, some of the things I learned that I should do better are the actual design slides need to be a bit more clear and readable, and just overall legibility, and then calling out certain functionalities needs to be more highlighted and maybe explained a bit more. Also, consistent identification of features and buttons, not add vocabulary or upload vocabulary, needs to be consistent and readable throughout and called out well. And like I said earlier, the in-page functionality to add words and vocabulary for review needed to be marked more clearly and in a more obvious place on the page, perhaps called out by certain buttons or colors to draw the student's attention to that functionality, and not mistake it for the main review page in the nav bar, which was why that button was also renamed. So that's where we are now. I expect to do a lot more work on this and a lot more of the inner functionality, and go through this process several times for the functionalities inside the lessons and the ad review and the uploads. Okay, thank you. Bye.